Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence and welcome back to another video. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm really appreciative of your support. And in today's episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at a fragrance by the company Arabian Oud, and this one is called Kashmir. So stay tuned. So about a week or so ago, I actually made a trip to the Arabian Oud store in Times Square in Manhattan. I've been there before about a dozen times or so. When my friend Joe visited, I went there once more. And so I decided to make a trip because it's actually a bit overwhelming. So you walk in there and they have all of these fragrances all over the wall, and they must have over 100 fragrances. So to actually take the time and smell through each one of them, it is a time-consuming process to say the least. And so I was smelling all of the fragrances on the second row from the bottom, and I stumbled across this one and I fell head over heels in love. I knew I had to pick it up. I took it home that same day and I've been wearing it pretty much nonstop for the past week. So I'm really excited to tell you about this fragrance. It is called Kashmir. It does contain Kashmir Oud in the base. There's a lot of really wonderful ingredients in this one, like jasmine and plum, which is one of my favorites, and blackcurrant. So I'm really excited to tell you what I think of this fragrance, but let's go ahead and start things off with the presentation. So the presentation for this one is among the best I've ever seen in my entire life. When you purchase it, it comes in this felt bag with a metal plate on the front that says Kashmir. The box itself has this really ornate sleeve that comes on the outside. The box itself has a felt material on the front here with a metal plaque that has the name of the fragrance on it, and it opens up just like this to reveal a silhouette in which the bottle rests. The bottle itself comes inside this felt pouch that has a tassel on it with the name of the company. The bottle of this fragrance has the name of the perfume printed on it, and Arabian Oud is engraved into the cap. The cap for this fragrance clicks into place very securely. You can pick this one up from the cap. The underside of the cap has Arabian Oud written in it in both English and Arabic. The distribution on the atomizer is among the best I've seen in my entire life. You can control how much you want to spray. Let's continue with the smell. So you guys just got a closer look at the presentation, and it is one of the things that really piqued my interest. I know the price range for this one, given the way that this one smells and the longevity, I think it's worth every penny, and I'm really happy to finally have this one in my collection. So truth be told, like I said earlier, I smelled this one about a week or so ago. I've been wearing it to work ever since. I've gotten a ton of compliments from this one, but the thing that I appreciate the most, because it's not always about the compliments, of course, those are an added bonus, if I can say that. I really appreciate it when somebody does compliment me on my fragrance. It really brightens up my day. But the thing to be admired in this perfume is the way that it smells, the ingredients contained therein, the way that it makes me feel. And I do have to say that this is a super unique fragrance. There is nothing else that quite smells the way that this one does. And for that reason, I really appreciate the smell of this unique, awesome fragrance. So it opens up with a tart juiciness about it that I really like. And I think it's a combination of the plum and the blackcurrant. So blackcurrant, I am familiar with it in some of the fragrances like the Enchanted Forest by the Vagabond Prince. And it's also in a few other fragrances, although it's not utilized as strongly. I know Maison Francis Kurkdjian uses it in a lot of his compositions as well. But in this fragrance, it comes across so bright and juicy and tart. There's certainly this overtone of juiciness about it. A little bit of citrus in there as well. However, the yuzu citrus that's utilized in here is the most prominent note. I do think that there is like bergamot and perhaps a little bit of lemon in here, but the yuzu note is the characteristic citrus that's used in here. And this fragrance was inspired by the Yangtze River, where the yuzu fruit first grew over 1200 years ago, and that is located in China. As this starts to dry down, the strongest floral note that I get in this fragrance, and I actually perceive it from the opening of the fragrance way until the dry down, it is the note of rose. I get a lot of rose in here, and I love the rose that's found in here. However, it smells like a rose oxide to me. So it's very similar to a rose that you would smell in, say, like a Montal fragrance. And I also get a little bit of jasmine in here, and the jasmine basically gives off a clean vibe. As this fragrance starts to dry down, you do have a lot of vanilla vanilla in here, and it almost like flirts with gourmand territory. But because that is the only sweet note, with the exception of the fruits, because that is the only sweet note in here, I'm having a hard time classifying it as a gourmand fragrance. And I think it's because of the presence of a little bit of patchouli in the base. It might not be listed as a note, but my nose perceives it somewhat. I think that that kind of puts it into oriental territory as opposed to gourmand territory. And especially when you read up on the story, you look at all of the notes, you give it a few wearings, this is definitely an oriental perfume. There's also Kashmir Oud in the base, and I would be remiss if I went throughout the entire review without mentioning the oud note in here. It comes across very exotic smelling, and that's one thing that I really enjoy about it. A lot of the ouds on the market nowadays, especially like in the Gucci wheelhouse, they are of a synthetic nature, and of course oud is a very expensive ingredient. I was speaking to some of the folks over at Arabian Oud, and they say that they do use real oud in a lot of their compositions, and of course they also have the incense burner at the store, and they often light oud to perfume the entire store. So it's very redolent when you walk in there. And of course, to a perfume lover such as myself, that's very enticing, right? So I love the way that this fragrance is structured, from the very unique citrus in the opening on account of yuzu as opposed to like bergamot or lemon or something like that. And then that progression into the mid where you get the rose oxide, which definitely puts it in exotic, enigmatic territory with the juiciness of the plum counterparted with that black currant, all the way into the base with the Kashmir Oud that's utilized in here that smells natural, and it's combined with that vanilla, which kind of hints at gourmand territory but doesn't fully commit. I love this fragrance from the top to the bottom, and so that is one of the reasons why I picked up a bottle, and so it makes perfect sense. This is one that I would 100% recommend if you are in the market for an oriental fragrance. However, please be advised that I don't think that this one should be worn in the dead heat of summer. This is one that you perhaps want to wear on a cool night, you know, when the sun fully sets, nightfall, you know, dusk is the time to wear this one. Otherwise, you can wear it in the spring, fall, and winter throughout the entire day, just not in the dead of summer. I think this one would be a bit choking, if I can use that adjective. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, I love the uniqueness of this one, and it is one of the reasons why I picked this one up. And so in the case of this one, whenever I smell something that is unique to the extent of it not resembling anything else in my vast collection, I always feel that compulsive need to acquire it so I can use it as a reference point. And this one certainly does that for me. And in terms of the overall smell on this one is incredibly pleasant. I love it. I find it to be very addictive. If you're a fan of Orientals, this is one that you ought to check out. Longevity on this one is solid, 8 to 10 hours. Projection on this one was really good for the first 2.5 to 3 hours of application, and it didn't even become a skin scent up until about the 7th hour mark. But even then, it was very noticeable, and I want to say it radiates beyond an arm's length, so please be careful with the sprayer on this one. And you saw how good the sprayer is, so it actually distributes a lot. And so maybe narrow it down to like 2 or 3 sprays. Of course, give it a test, see how well it performs on your skin, whether you have dry skin like I do or if you have oily skin. That's going to be the catalyst, but definitely be on the watch for that. In terms of the versatility on this one, I do find it to be pretty versatile. However, like I said earlier, don't wear it in the dead of summer. I think this is a unisex fragrance. Anybody of any sex can wear this one, and I think this is one that you probably want to reserve for higher tier scenarios. In terms of the presentation on this one, second to none. My final verdict on this fragrance is it's one of my favorite fragrances of all time. So if I had to put a number on it, it would be 5 out of 5. There's just something about the way that this fragrance is put together, the notes that are contained therein, the presentation, the composition, just everything about it sort of comes together to make perfection. I love this fragrance. If you do have a chance to visit an Arabian Oud store, I would recommend that you go out there and at the very least sample this one. I don't encourage blind buying. In the over 1,000 videos that I have on my channel, I've never once encouraged that somebody go out there and blind buy a fragrance, but this is one that I think would appeal to you quite a bit. So definitely go out there, trust your own nose, try it for yourself, see if you like it, because I personally love this one. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was my review of Kashmir by Arabian Oud. If you own or have tried this fragrance, please let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Also, please don't forget to subscribe for future videos. And of course, that includes reviews just like this one, top 10 lists, giveaways, unboxings, and a lot of other fragrance related content. Thanks again for watching. I love you guys. and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.